He wasn't elected. Who elected him? He is an imposition of the army. And we are saying, let's get that position corrected.
That it is clear to all that Chamisa has forged a deal with Mugabe.
Vamunangagwa, right? Navachiwenga, and right? Ngawa dissolve political bureau. Tikwane is what is it true? Ngawa dissolve cabinet. You know, Zinana Kazembe, Wana Soda, but how much do you talk about it?
Jimmy Magalamba Kudera Majo, Radiwana Musiki, Jonaiga, Satanika.
Right? Mugabe, tisaka mvisa ni impeachment. Right? Vanachiwenga vakati kuda kunomusainisa akati bullshit, go to hell.
This is the Free Talk. Welcome to this edition of the Free Talk in partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation. This week we're broadcasting from Mondoro, Ngezi, and we are at the rural homestead of one freedom fighter, a former legislator and a former Central Committee member of the ruling Zanu PF. Now, we are going to be talking about people, power, and the future of this country. And this is the Free Talk in partnership, the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom, with me, your host as usual, Dara B. Now join me just after this break for more. Welcome back to this, the Free Talk in partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. Now, we're going to be having a conversation around the politics of Zimbabwe, past, present, and future. And to help me discuss this intricate topic that all Zimbabweans want to know how our country is going to move forward and where it came from, is one former liberation war hero who fought in the liberation struggle for Zimbabwe, came back, became one of the youngest members of parliament as she was representing around Sunningdale. And she was one so brave politician at that particular time, a critic of the status quo, Honorable Margaret Dongo. Thank you very much, Honorable Margaret Dongo, for allowing us to have a conversation with you about our country, and welcome to Free Talk.
Thank you very much, and I also want to welcome you to Mondoro Ngezi, to my rural home. It's not in most cases where journalists want to follow people to their rural homes. They always enjoy taking stories in urban areas or peri-urban. So I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity to take this interview from my homestead in Mondoro Ngezi.
Amazing. It's a pleasure. It's such a welcoming environment. Let's just cut straight to the chase, Madam. Most of us have learnt about you as one person who did criticize the late ousted president of Zimbabwe, Robert Gabriel Mugabe, when everyone else could not speak against him. Talk to us about that moment of your life. What motivated you to challenge the status quo?
What motivated me to challenge the then system, the then government of Robert Mugabe, is that to some extent as a war veteran, I had felt betrayed, just like any other citizen, to say, the ideals of the liberation struggle had been betrayed. We fought for the majority of Zimbabwe, not for the few elite. So our hopes have been destroyed in 40 years. So I was a bit disappointed because it undermines the role that we played in the liberation struggle. The whole idea of the liberation struggle was to liberate this country from the bondage of, slavery that we used to talk about from the colonial regime. But what disappointed me is that gradually I saw this happening. As a former Central Committee member of Zanu PF, as a member of Parliament for almost 10 years, I witnessed a lot, especially in the urban areas. We inherited an economy which was run by a few and which was intended to benefit a few, who are mostly the wise. And yes, there's been migration from rural to urban. But the fact that we failed to maintain the little that, Smith had put in place. I'll give you a good example. Look at the Zupco buses. We had good transportation system during the colonial, even though we were few. We had an efficient transport system, buses moving every hour, every 10 minutes. I used to stay in Highfield. You could board a bus whenever you want, wherever you want. And the roads were always maintained. Apart from the roads again, if you look at the, people got to an extent of even vandalizing the bus terminus, bus shells, because we as blacks were taken over. But it was not the duty of, the people only. It was the duty of the government to make sure that systems are put in place, at least to maintain the little that had been put in place by Ian Smith. Because have a look, when we condemn the colonialism, we condemn how they treated blacks in terms of distribution of, be it land, in terms of employment, in terms of health facilities and so forth. But we expected to have a better future, not the life that we have. We expected to have a better healthy system that was going to be affordable to everyone. We expected to have good roads, well-maintained roads. We expected to have electricity. We expected to have clean water for all. But if you look at it, we have destroyed all what had been put in place. And we are starting to rebuild again. And by starting to rebuild again, there's nothing that we're building. Because our priorities are wrong.
We'll talk about those priorities later, madam. But you were in the Zanu PF Central Committee.
Mm-hmm.
You were a legislator.
Yes.
You were benefiting. Why were you speaking out?
Have a look. Every individual is guided by his or her conscience. And apart from that, being a freedom fighter, maybe I was different. My approach was different from those that never experienced the war. For me, my issue was to make sure that the government achieves all what they'd promised us during the liberation struggle. So this is what we wanted to see happen. So for me, it was a question of accountability. To say, you said A, B, C, D during the liberation struggle, and where are we today? It was accountability. Yes, I've been a member of the Central Committee, which was the highest body in the ruling party. But still, at the same time, that platform is supposed, it is the highest body. It is supposed to discuss policies for the majority of the people. It is supposed to discuss development. It's supposed to consult people. You know, one thing that made me to be a bit critical is that, you know, the way our politics is pursued or is perceived. You know, the moment you join the ruling party, you know, you have to adhere to the rules and regulation of the ruling party. You forget that not everyone is a member of the ruling party. There are people who can be pro policies of the ruling party, and there are people who also can argue to say they are not the best for the country. Those people must be accommodated in your system as well. But the fact that they never wanted to see or to hear any dissenting voice, any dissenting voice, you will be called a traitor, mutengesi, mutakati, murakashi, all those names. And yet we fought as one. And hondo inamborwiwa chete nevanhu vakaenda kuhondo. Hondo yakarwiwa nevanhu vese vari muno muZimbabwe, because one way or the other they helped. Vakabika, vakatakura material, vakachengeta comrades, vanhu vazhinji vakarwira hondo. Saka haina kurwirwa nesu chete. Tinofanirwa kubatana manje kuti tichidi, taifanirwa kubatana kuti tichinyatsobatanidza nyika yedu. Apart from that, you remember tiri kuhondo, I don't know whether some of you have seen a video yaTongogara paanoti when we get home, all I want to see is the black, white, everyone working together. And we want to rule Zimbabwe for a short time, and then we pass it on to the young generation. But for me, I saw that is not going to happen. That is not going to happen, and we are not going to have any positive change. And I'm telling you, if we had actually, some of the Zimbabweans had listened to me as early as 90s, we wouldn't have reached where we are today. We are in a very, very, very critical situation right now, to be honest.
After you spoke, there were consequences for you.
Yes.
Were you prepared for them when you spoke?
Yes, as a freedom fighter, I was very prepared. You know, I had to prepare myself mentally, because I knew it was going to happen. I knew very well when I was still in the central government to say Zanu PF will not accept any dissenting voice, and I knew the consequence. And what I expected actually happened.
What happened to you? What moments do you recall?
The first is I just got a shock when I got expelled from the Central Committee, from the television, without any notice. I was just watching you just like anybody else. And for someone who is not strong, you would actually collapse to say, what wrong have I done? And after that, and I was, you know, I went to contest, you know, my elections for parliament as an independent. You know, I experienced a lot of, you know, terrible, you know, things. I never expected that even the party that I fought for at an age of 15 would actually go out and, you know, petrol bomb me. I escaped 5 petrol bomb occasions.
From colleagues that you
From the colleagues that I served with, the same Zanu PF. Anzi kudya huku inodya mazaya ayo, mwana wavakarera. You can imagine that I'm a freedom fighter. Honestly, even if you don't accept dissenting views, would you get to the extent that you want to kill a person? You want to kill a person who helped you to be where you are, who helped you to be in power. And then at the end of the day, you want to kill. I remember my first petrol bomb in St. Mary's. And I was with Masipula, the late Masipula, may his soul rest in eternal peace. We couldn't believe it. And the first people to reach there were SABC and also BBC and so forth. But imagine I had gone to address a rally for an independent candidate. That time I had formed what we call an independent movement. But have a look, this is the same Zanu PF which came to petrol bomb me. And during elections, during my election campaigns, it was all petrol bombs here and there. My son in the home was bombed on several times, but lucky I survived. So it's so painful. Because of power, you have no respect for people that have fought with you during the liberation struggle, and for the people that have maintained you to be in power. So, as far as I'm concerned, I thought that, that was the time, especially in the 90s, then when we could have accepted criticism, because we were all Zimbabweans and we are still all Zimbabweans, and we are there to build Zimbabwe.
Zanu PF says that war veterans, their home is Zanu PF. In fact, they have now a league for war veterans. But you're talking.
Let me start by correcting you. Have a look. We are not all members of the league. The league war veterans are affiliated to Zanu PF, and they are also a small number. The majority of war veterans, some of them are political. Some of them are members of opposition political parties. So it doesn't necessarily mean to say members of the league represent all the war veterans. They are part of Zanu PF, but not all war veterans. I want to correct that. I'm not in the Veterans League that is supportive to Zanu.
You came out of Zanu PF and never went back. Most of your colleagues who have been in Zanu PF have been writing letters wanting to go back. Why are you staying away?
I'm a principled cadre, and there's no reason for me to go back, because the reason why I left, nothing has been corrected. I left because of the corruption which was beginning to mushroom. I left because of a number of things that were happening within the political party. And I thought those things were going to be corrected internally, but they've not yet been corrected. For me to go back to Zanu PF, it's a betrayal to the citizens of Zimbabwe, to the whole nation, because there's nothing that I fought for which I believe is moving in the right track.
But we have changed from Robert Gabriel Mugabe, who many said was the reason why Zanu PF was failing, and there's now this new dispensation and new trajectory of Zanu PF. You still think it's a betrayal?
Changing a train driver doesn't necessarily mean to say the train driver that we have put in place is going to be a very good driver. That's my answer. Changing a train driver does not necessarily mean to say you are free from accidents.
You earlier on you spoke about priorities. You think that this government has wrong priorities?
Yes. They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which service you waste billions to refurbish an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here, let alone access to, some of the bowls that the public is using, the communities are using. Some of them are not functional. Some of them get dry towards August. There is no rural electrification. I think you have moved the road that you have used, and how many houses. We are using solar power. Suppose the solar power did not been availed. What were we going to do in the rural? Rural people are treated like second-class citizens. So for me, I feel that we have been betrayed because the priorities for the government do not benefit the majority, let alone even those that are in the urban areas.
But in the rural, it's you who vote more for Zanu PF than anyone else.
Yes. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor. Because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economically empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them. But because now there is drought, they want to feed from Zanu PF the handouts. They have to remain loyal to Zanu PF.
But how are these people in the rural areas continuously poor when all the mineral wealth really and agriculture happens in the rural areas? Just close to you, you have Zimplats. And this is $1 billion investment.
That's a burning issue when it comes, as far as I'm concerned. Have a look. There is no mine in First Street. All the minerals are coming from rural. We have platinum just few kilometers from here. That's where Zimplats is. We have chrome. We have gold. We have look Manize, now they have steel, they are mining steel and so forth. But if you look at the development in the rural, you ask yourself, where is the money going? Okay, the Minister of Finance does allocate budgets. How much is left for the rural? We are treated like we are in two worlds or two different countries. We have the urbaners and the rural people. Rural people are taken for granted, and they are to remain poor so that they continue to support the political party.
And you are the source of power, but you are treated as second-class citizens. What will it take for you to realize this in the rural area?
Have a look. That's the reason why I came here. Have a look. I've never had experience of rural area. I was born in ghetto in Highfields. I grew up in Highfields. I did my politics as well in urban. Fine, I was in committees, chairing some committees. I would go as far as, the growth points and so forth. But I never experienced the real life in rural. Now that I've been here for more than 15 years, it's hell. The laws that we pass every time in parliament, the laws that we passed, even the inheritance bills for women that would benefit women, are in non-starter. Nobody else knows them here. Most women, if they lose their husbands, they lose their home. Most women in the rural, when they lose their husbands, they lose, in terms of inheritance, they get nothing. But according to the law, the inheritance says A, B, C, D, the women should actually benefit from the estate of their husbands. But they can't. They can't because, have a look, we put these laws that are very positive, but when it comes to implementation, the rural people are not there. They are not there. You hear about, rural developments. Rural development happens where a minister comes from. Rural development happens in the province, Gara president. During Mugabe, kwakuine tara yaisvika kwazvimba nepatoiri chaipo papaine tara. And the person who was responsible for the ministry yanga ichita izvozvo ndichikore. Enos Chikore, the late Enos Chikore, time to Mzuru. But look at the roads. Kwaigar, he never even had a house. Kunoko. So the politics that we have, let's say, kuti apinda, ono developer area yake. This is why you find kuti the rural development iriko, it's in pockets. Kwaenda minister, kwa VP Chiwenga, kuweza uko kwa famba itara. Because there's a vice president. Kwa president ukafamba itara. Muno muchaye a good example. If the minister or the president or the vice president is coming, the rural district council inogadzira road for the president, for the vice president, for the minister, and for the president's wife. And I wish they were weekly visitors. Things would be better for us. Now they come once. They are political tourists. They don't come frequently. I wish they came every time. Then our roads would be maintained. So for as long as there is no minister coming here, you know kuti road haigadzirwe. Kana pasina VP ari kuuya, kana pasina first lady, kana asingapfuuri nokoko, road haisi kugadzirwa. Saka hungava upenyu here, ndozvatakarwira here. Hatina kurwira a few people. Takarwira ruzhinji rwese rweZimbabwe. Let alone isusu vacho war veterans. We used to be told kuti tonogutira kumusha. And yet we are living in abject poverty. When I say we, I'm actually referring to my colleagues. The majority of them are living in abject poverty. What do you do with the pension of 200, zig? What do you do with the pension of 600 zig and $120? What do you do with the pension of that? And the person is, have a look, you are not working. It's not even enough to pay your electricity bill. And some of them, the majority of all veterans, the majority are landless. Vakanzi vakaita jambajere kutora mapurazi, vakatorerwa futi nemashefu. Havana mapurazi iwayo. Vacho vakapuwa mapurazi, angori hunting areas. They can't afford, they don't have the capacity kuti vakwanise kurima mapurazi mamuti vachengete mhuri yavo. So saka hapana. It's so painful. If they are to say the truth, most of them, Mama Roja, Havana, they don't own houses. But go to the Mavana chef, go to the Mashefach, they own properties, they own houses. But pataka baku ondo, tataka fanana, takauya ni kitibegi rimwe chete tese. But kuti tizoti vamwe vedu vakazojamba kusvika paari pekuti one owns a house in the beach in South Africa, someone owns a house in Malaysia, someone owns a property in England. Ko have a look, takarwirei. Look at it right now. My comrades vanofanwa kunyara. You know why? Because vaiti vari kutandanisa varungu vanga vakavadzvanyirira munyika yavo. Asi zvinezvi vateera varungu kunana UK, vateera varungu kupi all these other European countries, kunovateera kunovagezesa, vavateera asi vakavadzinga muno. Zvinhu zvinonyadzisa. Zvinezvi they are living like slaves. Kocha vakarwira chi? They should be enjoying their soil. They should be enjoying muno muZimbabwe. Izvinezvi ndo vamwe vacho vato marefugee futi. Vamwe vacho vakadzinga vacho ndo vavari kunogezesa. Does that make sense to you? Why they can't even havakwanise kuchengeta chembere dzavo dzemunomu kuti vachengete chembere dzavo dzemunomu, asi vanogona kunochengeta chembere dzekunze. Hakusi kuda kwavo. Let me say this. I'm not shunning. Hakusi kuda kwavo. It's because of the situation that we have.
But the situation in this country says that we're going to be an upper middle class economy in 2030. I mean,
for a few, they're already upper middle class. The few. The situation that we have, the poor, we have two classes, the rich and the poor. That's what we have right now. It's the rich and the poor. And the poor are in majority, and the rich are a few. There's no middle class anymore. Can you confirm that you're a middle class yourself? Can you?
I can't.
In what sense?
I can't honestly confess.
A middle class should be able to afford a house, should be able to afford a car, should lead a decent life. But how many of you can? And when? Do you think that is going to be, do you think this government is going to perform miracles in 2 terms that we are going to have a middle class society? Which middle class are you talking of? Feeding the few.
We're told that the ZIG is going to give us solutions to our economy, and there is development in this country where infrastructure is being built. I mean, don't you agree with this vision?
You make me laugh. You make me laugh. And you make me cry at the same time. Have a look. We liberated this country in 1980. So is South Africa liberated 10 years after. So is Namibia. So is other countries, Tanzania first and other countries. South Africa is still using the rand. Zambia, despite of different leaders coming in, they are still using their kwacha. Malawi is still using their currency. Tanzania, they are still using the shillings. Even Kenya, all the other countries. You ask yourself what's unique about Zimbabwe? Why trade in the change of currency? What do they benefit from that? That's the question. Why do they actually change? You see that building. I started building it. I tried to build it in 2008. Before 2008, when they changed the currency, we lost a lot of money. We lost a lot of savings. All the projects were affected. There was no development from that time up to today. It's always a change of currency, from the bond to the millikinyendas, the zillions that we had. And now we are moving in, we had dollars again, and now we have ZIG. So what is your expectation when all these other currencies failed?
We have a new central bank governor, and he's serious about what he's talking about. We have a new finance
Manguja said when he was appointed that if his decision or whatever policy that he has put in place, if it doesn't work, he was going to resign. But he didn't resign on his own. He resigned because someone else had been appointed. So there is no guarantee that this. It's just, have a look. I told you about this concept of changing a train driver. The concept of changing a train driver. If you change a train driver, that it doesn't mean to say you are not going to have accidents. Accidents occur. So what guarantee do we have? Already you're talking about ZIG. If you go to my growth point, to my shopping center in rural, the exchange rate for a ZIG is 20 to 1. 20 to 1. If you want to go and buy something using ZIG, it's 20 to 1. And it's even within 2 months. So what is going to happen in the next 3 months? And none of us, and I don't know what the ZIG current look like, the original current, I don't know. All I know is the ZIG, bank, transfer. But otherwise, none of us have seen the ZIG paper money. So what guarantee do you have? And why should we? Why are Zimbabweans not asking to say why is Zimbabwe in the whole of SADC changing currency like petticoats? Who is benefiting from that? There's a secret. We need to find out from Zanu PF leadership. We need to find out from this leadership. What is it in the currency that you benefit from? But the first thing that I want to tell you is that there's the ordinary citizen is exploited. Each time the currencies are changed, we lose money. We lose money. And I have no doubt it pays for the bills and the corruption that is happening in this country. We have lost a lot of money, a lot of savings because of the change of currency. So you can't actually embark on any project, because if you embark on any project, there's no guarantee that you sail through.
You keep talking about corruption. How deep, how endemic is corruption in this country? From you, I mean, you sit in the Central Committee, and I'm sure you still have colleagues.
It's like tea. Chai, Kenyans call it chai. It's like tea. Now it's no longer in the hierarchy only. It's now it is developed even in the grassroots. It's even more ways in the grassroots, because these are the grassroots people who see their leaders being corrupt. So they are thinking that it's a type of life that should exist. And then the corruption is shrunk right to the grassroots. There's now corruption everywhere. Worse off with the leadership. Because they have a look. You asked me a very good question. You were in the Central Committee. You were a member of Parliament. You were this and that. Why are you feeling the pinch? It's because, I didn't believe in corruption. I'm not a selfish person. I'm a selfless person. And I'm like a social worker. Politics is not a business. This is what I want to remind most of our MPs and other people.
Do you think they look at it as a business?
Yes, they look at it as a business. Because they look at it as a business, seriously. Because the moment they go, business and employment creation. Because if they go to Parliament, you are employed. You get a car, you get a stable salary, and you are paid until your term is over. Already you are employed. If you are out, you're out of employment.
If you serve 2 terms, you get a pension?
You get a pension. Then already, this is why people kill in politics. They kill to be in Parliament. This is why we have violence in this country. Because there is no employment. The only employment which is there is in politics. There is no other outside employment. So for them, a very good example is, look at what happened to CCC, the Triple C party. Have a look. When they lost, when they said they were rigged, what I expected from them, I expected all parliamentarians to say, we are not going to go to participate in a rigged system. And we are not going to sit in a rigged parliament. Because the elections have been rigged. So all of us were not going to parliament. Imagine what could have happened. We could have gone into new elections. There's no way Zanu PF was going to rule alone.
You think so?
Yes.
Do they care?
Caring or not caring, the public would have forced them, because the majority of the people would want representation in Parliament.
But they went anyway?
But they went. They realized that, you heard them complain, I used my own money to be in Parliament. But what about me who have voted for you? I used my own money. So the idea is to recover. Is it a business where you want to recover your losses? Is it a business? Politics, is it a business where everyone else, when you get in Parliament, you want to recover your losses? A good example is now, parliamentarians have been elected. I don't know when we last saw our member of Parliament in this area. And some of them, they tell you straight away that we are looking for money, so that when it comes back to re-election, we want to feed our people. We want to buy our votes. They're very open. So is that the kind of representation we are looking for? It's a bit unfair. It is unfair.
You spoke about passing the baton to the next generation. You have passed the baton?
I have. I could have been a member of Parliament still now. I could have come here and say I want to be a member of Parliament. I could have gone back to Sunningdale and say I want to be a member of Parliament. I could have tried even to contest in my own area where I stay in Ridgeview. But I'm a principled cadre. Have a look. I said I've reached my 60s, and it's high time we should pass on the baton stick. to the young generation.
You are younger than the president of this country, and you are passing the baton. How dare you?
We are different. The way, our orientation to power is different. Our orientation to power is different. You assume power to service people. You assume power for the common good. You don't assume power to enrich yourself. If you look at the current situation, they are busy chasing money every hour, every minute. And I like the president when he says, make money. And you wonder, who is he talking to when he says make money? Are you talking to a person in a rural setup like mine to say make money? How can that person make money? There is no irrigation. We have drought. There is no water. There's no electricity. The environment is not conducive enough for them to do any business. So how can they make money? Who are you referring to when you say make money?
But you're making money.
You always talk about investors coming in. Outside investors. What about your local investors? How do you create employment? Outside investors would make sure that they use the minimum so that they get maximum profits. What about your own people? Why can't you promote your own indigenous people and they become the investors?
Haven't they promoted? We have Weakness Revive. We've got Scott.
What business is Weakness Revive in? Can you educate me? Or can you?
Solar systems. He won the Gwanda solar deal.
What business is Scott in?
Gold.
You are not serious. These people, you want me to talk about Chivayo. Have you ever asked yourself, where does he get the money? I've always said to people, this is dirty money that Chivayo is cleaning on behalf of the politicians. It's dirty money that he's cleaning. Where on earth, what business does he have? Okay, he must publicize it. Let the Anti-Corruption Commission investigate Chivayo and find out where he's getting the money from.
They said they've investigated him, he's clean.
They've investigated him, he's clean. Then we are getting nowhere. Because everyone who's going to be investigated is going to be clean. Except the few, the unfortunate, the pure, the unfortunate with no enough power to protect themselves. Don't forget, the commission is also appointed. It's not elected. It's appointed. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. You have a limit to everything. You have a limit to every approach. Haven't you heard about catch and release? There are quite a number of people who have been caught and have been released. Have you asked yourself why? Some of them because they were servicing Zanu PF bills. They were actually, whatever they were doing, it was benefiting Zanu PF. So one way or the other, they have to protect them. If the anti-corruption honestly want to be respected, they must investigate NASA. NASA, the anti-corruption. If the anti-corruption is serious with what they are doing, they should come and investigate Mondoro Rural District Council, which is there. Because that's where, you know what they do? When they find any mine in anything, the first thing is they look for the chefs to come. Paita mari chef, madi kumboya mamboona. Paita mari kana kutuma mai mamboona. There is no ordinary person from this rural who owns a mine. They don't own a mine, but they are makorokozas. But these are our resources. We're supposed to benefit from these resources. We have nothing that we've benefited from. They built a trust during Mugabe's time. The trust was stretching to Zimba, coming from here and administered Gunana Zimba, so that they benefit from the money. But the poor people in this country, look at them, in this part of the country, they're living in abject poverty. I'm telling you, Mondoro is only 140 kilometers from Harare. You drove. But there is the poorest community. It is the poorest community. It's only 140 kilometers. Poorest community, which have bad roads everywhere. Go to Nyamweda, go to Mbaira, go to, on your way to the chrome mine, the roads are bad. I remember some years back, during Chombo, when he was the Minister of Local Government, he came to commission a machine, that machine was bought for less than half. For more than half, I mean to say. Minister just came aka commissioner, akaenda chibva chadzoserwa kugarage ukoko. And the person who was trying to fight this case, it's a pity, akafa. Ndikatoti nini minister pavakauya, ndaigara muno ndakati I had the guts to go there. Kati, comrade minister, this thing that you are commissioned, one, chaka inflate her price, two, it's not in good condition. And this is the situation. Ipapa yatouya kuti mucommission, otherwise inogara kugarage kwayo. But they didn't take it serious. The same council iyoyi inongogadzira road dzavanofamba nadzo kusvika kuTEF, kumaini. Any other roads munenge matoyaura kuti vagadzire. And you know, the last few months, well, you know what they were doing? They wanted to fix me because ndaisa road pa social media. Vaigadzira kunosvika pamatenera pamandedza pape. Voya vanogadzira kwavanopfuura nako. This pango apa vosiya. It's not they are punishing me. They don't know that the other people vanogara muno besides me. We use nzira dzengoro kana tichienda kutown. And we tried. I gave the video to the minister. I even gave the video to the president of this country. This is the type of life we are living in. These are the roads we have. But nothing has been done. That was before elections. When they were just soon after 2017. Nothing fruitful has come out of it.
In your view, Mama, what do you think Zimbabweans need to do to ensure that their country is at the same level as South Africa, as other developing nations in this world?
Have a look. The first thing I want to say to you, honestly, I'm a comrade. We need a change. We need a change of leadership. It can be a change within Zanu PF, a change coming from opposition or what other. We need young generation to come in and drive the change of this country, drive the economy of this country. Because our experiences are different. Murikutaura nana sekuru vakati vakamakokora it happens. Vakuti vakuitire development. Murikutaura nana sekuru vana vedu, they are full of technology. They can come in and invest that in the economy. But they don't have opportunity. The only thing that we can do, the first thing before you even talk about the change of the economy, is to change the leadership. Change the leadership within, or the opposition can come in. Because have a look, you can't have a look. For Zanu PF, I have a problem. Because any young generation who raise up their voice, they're expelled. They go out, they denounce Zanu, but when their stomachs are empty, they have to go back because they know that's where money comes easily. And they are never allowed to participate in meaningful positions. We are looking at elections for 2028.
2028.
Chiwenga should come in. Dianga vice president. No one is talking of a young generation or a young freedom fighter to come in and take over power. Apana. It has to circle within these geriatrics. I'm sorry to say. It has to circle within these very mature people. Not young generation. So okay. Avamboteerera zvakataurwa naTongo Gara. Tongo Gara akataura kuti kana tatora nyika, tatonga tapinda tatonga nyika, topa vana vadiki vochizotitongera nyika. Kune vachiteererawo vanotorwadza. Tongo Gara said it clearly. Kuti iwo kana tatora nyika tonge tobva tapa pass on to the young generation, you will take over. Even they can't even pass on to the young generation within their own political party. What more the opposition? I've been watching my elections from day one, like South Africa. Oh my God, I'm impressed. Whatever is the outcome, at least there's a little bit of democracy. You know, opposition is given, time per television, per national media, equal time. They can put their banner, there's a banner around or no reflector. News time, kana vachitaura nenyaya issue yemapolitical party pavo. MuZimbabwe, ndikupoona opposition. Let alone the journalists, vemuno, vane fear. I've enjoyed the debates in South Africa, especially these elections. I've enjoyed the journalism in South Africa. Havana kana fear, havana kana mgomo, havana kuti apa papatsikwe. I've seen a bulletin rinopera ndisipazi Ramaphosa asina kupinda. Papinda mama political parties. Yet in Zimbabwe, open ED, open First Lady, open Zanu PF, open the you can't. Even the young generation, they are not even exposed. Even whatever good things that they are doing, they don't have a platform to share it. It's a pity.
And you went to war?
Ndinotorwadziwa. Zvauri kutovhunza izvi zvinotondirwadza. Kuti ndinombobvunza makomberedzi vaya vamwe vasina makumbo nevamwe kuti akomana unotombofunga kuti chandakadimbukira gumbo rangu. Ende apa hausi kuchengetwa futi. Kune mamwe macountries vanenge vaine ma-special cars ema-disabled. Ivo vangori nemudhondori wavo. Vakave few vakademonstrata kunoti mari yatiri kutambira haiko. Vanotambira vaitambira $20. Izvi zvavotambira $42. Mari yatiri kutambira haikwani. Nanhasi 2 years vari kuenda kunoripota kupolice on a monthly basis. 2 years. Vamwe vaine mudondoroso. Vamwe vachatopera kufa. But vakarwira nyika yacho. And I salute ED. He's a hardcore. He knows how to deal with people. He knows how to deal with adversaries. He knows how to keep his power in place. Munomiti. Ivo makomberedzi acho ma-destitutes aya. Vanomiti. They are worshipping him. Vachibva ipapo inotarisa pavanorara. Inotarisa pavanodya zvavanodya. Inotarisa vana vavo vabva ipapo vanga vachitaurirwa naED kuti ngatibatanidze pati tivhotere kuti Zanu PF irambe iri mupower. Go and see where they stay, where they live, what they eat, the lifestyle they lead. Ivavo vacho vanga vari parali pari. Vanga vachina maslogan nevanga vachiimba vaya. Unoona pavanogara. Unorwadziwa. Kurwadziwa. Ndosaka ndichimuti pakatsika pakapenga. Pekuti vanhu vatadza kusumudza musoro. Not only the war veterans. Kana ivo vanhu muno. Ndinotombobvunza muno muruzevha. Kuti are you happy with the type of life you're in? Hanzi kune fazi, kune chi, pana asingafe. Pana akanzi achaenda kudenga nemanera. Kana wafa time yako. But you should fight. Continue to fight. The parent stick is not going to be transferred only to living people. Uchifo panofa umwe. Pachizvichienda zvakadaro. But you're fighting for one thing, to liberate yourself. We are not like we are living in a liberated country. It's a few who are benefiting from our bloodshed. Not many of us. Mwanangu che is unemployed. Vana vemao veterans vakawanda, they are unemployed. A few who managed to get positions within ndo vari kulive a luxurious life. And you ask yourself, where are we? Where are we quiet? Takatsitikwa here? Chii? Zvinhu zvatinonyatsoona kuti izvi zvinhu hazvisi kufamba zvakanaka.
The talks of term extensions, do you think when 2028 comes in line with the constitution, President Emmerson Mnangagwa will hand over power?
It's 50-50. You're chasing gambling. If you see people who advocate for Mnangagwa to go beyond 2028, it's not their thinking. There are people who are used to create passage for a different agenda. And it won't be a surprise with Vanuati. I should continue. But anyway, I can continue. For me, he won't be man enough. Because he's a lawyer. Being a lawyer, I want to believe that you respect the constitution. It can't be amended for him. But I'm doubting, because the idea of Anacha Barangu could only 2/3 majority. And I think that was the thinking behind. But 2/3 majority will play around with the constitution. That's when I want to see Maringa and Chingete and Dono to Zimbabwe. Not only that, yes, we are saying that the elections in Zimbabwe have been rigged. And SADC is already pronounced that. And he is going to be awarded the chairmanship of SADC by SADC. Can't you see double standards? Can't you see hypocrisy? If you said the elections, he is an illegitimate leader, the elections were not free and fair, the elections were rigged, now why actually give him the chairmanship? Tingori ne problem one watema. And plus this is worse. If you go to South Africa, at least South Africa, allow ma demonstrations. Muno even the thought of it. You could ngati demonstrate panapa. Vanoswe panongourirwa munhu wanu usiku vese vatochka. Havana kubatana kwatakaisa kuhondo kweho kuti uyu akafa anokandira uyu pfuti, uyu afa anokandira uyu pfuti. Public haina izvozvo. Vakatofa vaya ndo vakavhara door, ndo vanongoseva as a reminder pakaitwa demonstration paya. We don't want to sacrifice for a change.
How well do you know President Emmerson Mnangagwa?
I've worked with him. Central Intelligence Organization. Until he left. And I remained there. I've stayed with him in the liberation struggle. I was with him in the Central Committee of Zanu in the from the 1987 to the 90s.
Is he someone you would give your trust?
That's a very difficult question for me. If it is someone that I would give a trust, I would have rejoined Zanu PF. You get my words? If it is someone that I would give trust, I could have rejoined Zanu PF. Because Zanu PF is an organization, it's not an individual. It's an organization. I would have joined because of the ideals that we fought for, just to pursue them. But it's a pity. By removing Mugabe, It's like we actually worsened the situation. Mugabe took 30 years to destroy, but 8 years, only 5 years. Now he's going to his second term, isn't it? It's only 10 years. Imagine given another 10 years, what would happen? Still sina kana road muno mumaclinic umu vari kutaura danzi tiri kuisa drugs mumaclinics. Toenda nemi munoona mumaclinics hamuna chirimo, mibhedha yakatyoda imomo mutori nomumwe kuadmitwa munongochizoti unoda unofa. Ukaenda kumahospital emumarural mamwe acho aya kusingagari mashefu. You can imagine kuti if he's given another term life, oh my God, tinenge takutoti Smith anga ari nani. Because Smith aimaintaina tumatara twake tuye twefamba mafamba ake. Manje twese tumatara tuye twakajira mafamba ne hakusina chazvitarisa. Maitomboziva kuti mukaenda kuAndrew Fleming munonorapwa muchiona mishonga. Maitomboziva kuti mukaenda kuHarare Hospital munonorapwa muchiona mishonga. Only few houses from here, we lost a young teacher. Ndakatoenda kuhospital naye 4 days haana kuwana treatment kuHarare Hospital. Svikira afa. Ndikavati ndapota musaendese munhu kuhospital kuHarare Hospital. It's a slaughter camp. It's slaughter camp as far as I'm concerned. Because ndakazviwitnessa ndega kuenda nemunhu. Imagine what you know what I witnessed. It's a long time since I have been to Harare Hospital. Avasise malaboratories ese anga ari muhospital muHarare Hospital, mupremise yeHarare Hospital. Hamusisina, are outside. Nobody knows who owns them. So kana waendapo wabva kumusha urwere wakakatorwa ropa, woisa mubhegi wokwira lift woenda pakupost office kuya ndoko wakavhura malaboratories, woendesa blood rako wogarira ukoko wozotakura results woenda nawo kuHarare Hospital. And yet a big hospital like Harare Hospital, we expected kuti malaboratories should be muHarare Hospital macho. Hakusisina. I was there. Uchiona mubhedha wakadai. Uchiona munhu ari kuchema no. I came ndikashare pasocial media that vakomana, no wonder why people are blaming us vachiti ndozvamakarwira here. Ndozvamakarwira here. Only kana kwaenda minister panonofilmwa pabva kugadzirwa ipapo. They don't bring out the entire situation within the hospital. Kana timatiles mukuti Harare Hospital say chete ndakasenza paHarare Central ndiri kusiyawo kupolice. Pane matuck shop, mane matuck shop muCentral Police Station. Matiles unogona kugumburwa ukatodona. It's no longer the police station yakasiwa na Smith here. Ndakarwadziwa pandakapinda mupolice station. Takutoona pane kutuma mamwe maoffices ama hairdressing salon, mamwe ama flea markets. It's unbelievable. Kitchen officers mess yataenda kunodya. Ukaenda izvozvi mune mapete magwenjere ecutlery nezvese zvazvirimo zviya. Taiti tikapedza basa toenda kuofficers mess and we get there. Tikana lunch taenda akusisina zvese zvazvimaflea market, zvimwe zvimajunkie whatever. Maoffices ane zvimajunkie zvimadeski zvakangokandwa umomo. I want you to tour this. Chimbotowa imwendo koko kuti vanhu mumaZimbabwe ambo vazive kuti hapasisina chiripo. It's not far. Pacharge office paCentral Police Station, maoffices anga ari maoffices amatuck shop, amasaloon, floor yacho ine mapotholes, matiles acho kukwatwa kuti ukarega kufamba zvakanaka unodona. Kufamba corridor ataifamba riya tichiri kupinda pachine special branch, takasenza kusina chine special branch SB. Paine maoffices anga ari good and well maintained. Zvinezvi kana kwaisa kwati uise chikwere chehuku kana chemombe chemhuka dzinoramba, asi munosenza ma-human beings, ndo munosenza mapurisa umomo. It's a sad story. This country has been destroyed. Kuda a good example yekuti hanzi ye magi anotaurisa handei pahospital munoona munoramba imi kuti it's a hospital.
Ataurisa here magi?
Aiwa, magi ataurisa. Magi anotaura chokwadi. Magi anotaura pfungwa dzake kugara nekugara without fear. Handina gomo mwanangu. Patakanorwa kuhondoka hapana akanzi akaescapa rubber bullet rari rimwe chete. Ndege dzadzisingatsvage mashefu chete dzairova munhu wese. Zvirema zvehondo hasi mashefu, makilamen, taiti makilamen ndo zvirema zvehondo. Saka ina handina gomo nekuti donzo randakatarisira idonzo rezvatakarwira kuti taiti tinonogutira kumusha, povho ichanoguta. Takubvunza kuti povho yacho iri kuguta sei. Vazhinji vana havasi kuenda kuchikoro, vazhinji vari kuperera grade 7, havasi kuzokwanisa kuenda mafomu 1, vamwe havasi kukwanisa kunyora mafomu 4. Zvakawanda zviri kuitika munomu, asi mukanzwa vachitaura paTV vari pachikoro chemunharaunda mavo, munoti aiwa kuri kuitika mashura nezviratidzo. Kusina anosvikako, munonzwa tsitsini. Muna November ndakarinovheta building yechikoro chekuchipinga kuchikore. Chakatorwa nedutu riya rekutanga riya aida. Hapana akazomboenda kunombonogadzirisa, asi painzi madhona auya, yegovernment aisa mari, kwagadzirwa chii, munoonekwa. Ivo kana building kusvika yapera, kusvika varegera kuendesa vana vechikoro, zvikatondirwadza. I had to look for funding. Kuita put in place again. Muna December, only December, patenga era 5 years. Yaparadzwa nedutu riya.
You can tell us, what are you doing now? You've been out of the public eye, except staying here in Mondoro. What are you doing?
Handingogara chete Mondoro. I'm doing a lot. I'm here when I'm not doing something. I participate in political arenas. I go for programs that empower my women. I participate in workshops. I participate in activities. I do monitor the movement of the young upcoming, politicians, especially women. With my groups, I didn't know mentor is a person like me.
So the way you speak about the violence in politics and how you were attacked as you mentor these young women.
Yes.
What is their view of politics in Zimbabwe?
Some of them, they used to fear, but by sharing my experience, it has built strength in them. If Maggie can do it, if Gogo can do it, I'm now a Gogo 60. Why can't we? Because I'm sharing with them. Because have a look, these are the obstacles. There's nothing that comes smooth. Anything that comes smooth doesn't stay. You have to fight for it. And this is the process for fighting for genuine power. You have to service, you have to work with the people. And within that time, not everyone else will appreciate that. Once identified, people want to know whether you're Zanu PF or opposition.
You have been to Harvard?
Yes, I have. I have been to Harvard. I graduated. I did the master's in public administration.
How was your experience there and understanding the learning environment?
It was a good experience, except that I was talking to my professors to some extent. It instilled fear in me. How did it instill fear? I came to realize, okay, some of these things that I was sharing, that I was doing, I could have died. And by dying too early, it was a disservice to the nation. It's a leadership failure. You need to find out how you can feed into the people feed into the system, leave a good legacy, help many people. I want to tell you that Harvard opened my eyes theoretically. Practically, I had more experience. I had a better experience. I came to know a lot of things, how they, especially if you talk about the issue of the economy, the issue of donors, the issue of I had an opportunity myself, which I have always said, I wish the young aspiring politicians would have an opportunity to go through that exercise. Because some people say leaders are born. Yes, we can be born with that one in your leadership. But you also need to be empowered to be able to carry out your duties. There is a need for that.
The quality of education in Zimbabwe compared to when you went to Harvard, how was it? And do you think we can match those standards?
It differs. The quality of education maybe is determined by the environment. It's determined by the environment and the wealth of that country. You can't compare Harvard with any university in Africa. They have everything. They have every facilities. They have you name it. Even if they can afford professors, from different countries, and they have the resources to make sure that they develop a leader. Not unlike here. Here, fine, we have best teachers. Even students who come from here, from Zimbabwe, they excel well. All those that have gone to Harvard, they always ask they always make reference to Zimbabwe has got better education. We have good teachers. We produce good, students. We have good lecturers, but they are in the wrong place. You know what I mean? They are in the wrong place. Given an opportunity, even the doctors, we have the best doctors in the world. Doctors that are committed. But it's unfortunate that they are in the wrong place. If they were in the right place, then things would be different. No one else recognizes them. We have selfish leaders who are born by a mother and exploit that same mother, who are taught by teachers and exploit that same teacher, who are treated by doctors to stay healthy and stay in power, and they exploit the doctors. This is the type of leadership that we have in Africa, more so in Zimbabwe. They have no respect for another entity. They look at their power only.
I promised to keep you under 40 minutes. I've kept you for over an hour now.
I'm feeling hot as well.
Yeah.
Can't you see I'm sweating?
Yeah, but I want to thank you very much for sitting down with us and having a conversation with us around Zimbabwean politics, leadership, and what we can do to change our country. But before you go, I will if there's anything that sits deeply in your heart that you think something that I didn't ask that you think you would want to share, I'll give you that opportunity to talk to the people of Zimbabwe and share that which lies deeply in your heart.
The only thing that pains me, the first thing is about the war veterans. I don't know to what extent they've been brainwashed. What I see now, I see a situation where they are abused. They have their own system which they fought for, but they don't have the guts to stand up and challenge and give a stop to what is happening. The second thing is about the Zimbabweans, the nation as a whole. They see bad things happening. They see bad apples, but they cannot stand up. There's this individualism. I want to be better than Ningi. I'm happy because I'm better than X. We don't have that team spirit We are still far from building our country. We are still far from developing our country. And my plea to them is, why don't we stand as one? Open our eyes and see the truth and agree to the truth and see what we can do. We need to move together as a team. It doesn't mean to say if you are fit to die today, you will die fit. There are some people who have been fit and when they died, they were skinny. So anything can happen. Life is like a circle. Mbuya wangu aiti, mwanangu muzukuru, upenyu ivhiri, rinotenderera rodzoka. Saka upenyu ivhiri. We need to unite as Zimbabweans. We need to come together as Zimbabweans and begin to say, where did we go wrong? And how can we correct it? And also, for those that are in positions, talk to people when going up, for you meet the same people when you come down. For the current government, it doesn't make sense to keep on taking those people vamakati vakamboita corruption. You bring them into the system, you give them position. Are you saying, Zanu PF is short of leadership? It's short of young leadership. And I want to say also to our Zimbabwe nationalists, we know we had respect for you, but amusiri mega makarwa hondo. Vakarwa hondo vacho ndo zvirema zviri kutambudzika. Kudai zvakanzi muna 1980 ma-elections vakarwa hondo ende munokondesa madhara ese anga asikakwanai. Bhozi hapana paizikanwa, bhoera anga asikazikanwi, mundura anga asikazikanwi. Uku kwaizikanwa Comrade Jokonya, kogozikanwa Comrade Mbune, kozozikanwa Comrade Rumbi, kozozikanwa Ningi, ingadai vasipo. But we respected them as our leaders. Let them respect us and the entire country as well. Doesn't mean to say that when we let nationalists to rule us, moramba makati dzvanyirira. Mototi zvatikutaura zvekupasa onise nini button stick. Motopasirana kusvikira isusu tachembera. We are now 60. We are now in our 60s. But takaenda tine 15. Ivo vakaenda vaende kuma-40. Vai in their 70s and 80s. But they are passing the button stick within the generation yavo ye-80. Is that fair? It's not fair. It's not fair because maZimbabweans akarara.
Maggie says we need Team Zimbabwe, we need a spirit to fight for each other, to hold each other's hands and make this country a better place. Honorable Margaret Dongo, an outspoken liberation war hero, one person who has come out of her comfort zone to speak on behalf of all of us, to challenge the status quo when it was unimaginable to do so. And she continues to advocate for freedoms that drove her out of the comfort of her own parents' home to cross the borders of Zimbabwe and come back carrying a gun to liberate those of us who are supposed to enjoy the freedom of this country, but are supposedly still not enjoying those benefits. Now this is, and this will always be, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. We say this is the platform for everyone to be heard, for you to get the right answers to your questions. Until next time, thank you for joining me, your host as usual, Dara B, here on Heart and Soul TV and radio. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow our content. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.